You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Chiro Thin, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Universal Tractioning Systems, Rhino Coaching, Chiropractic Jobs Online, and Chiro Matchmakers. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 88 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
Hey everybody, so today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Arno Burnier, and his story is quite impressive. It's been 40 years in chiropractic, and if you guys want to learn how to really deliver the goods with an adjustment, pay attention to this episode. So Arno, what is your chiropractic story, and what really influenced you to become a chiropractor?
Well, that's a really wonderful question. My chiropractic story started out of a motorcycle crash. I used to race amateur racing motorcycle in France, and I had a crash and led me to have significant symptoms. And as a result of it, I ended up seeing a chiropractor named Jean Laval in Paris, France. He had an office 76 Rue Bonaparte, which is one of the most lavish and expensive area of Paris. And I went to see him, and on my first interaction with him, I got completely inspired and turned on by who he was, and 3 sentences that he stated after I had dispensed my symptomatology to him and explained why I was in his office. He had listened very quietly, very intently, really looking deep into me, and I could feel his presence, that he was there, not just like, listening or when are you done, but really present. And then he said, there is nothing that I can do with what's wrong with you. What I can do, however, is address what is right in you. And then he said, you cannot fight darkness, you must turn on the light. You cannot fight disease, you must turn on life. And that was the total communication that he had with me on the first visit. In that moment, because I came from the medical world, I knew that I was going to do whatever that man was doing. It virtually ignited a spark inside me, a light bulb went off, and the rest is history. I decided to go to chiropractic college. I decided to go to Sherman College, which at the time was not even built. It was an idea that they had to have a college. But Jean Laval told me, if you're going to go to chiropractic college, you want to go to the very best, and that's where Reggie Gold is going to be teaching, and Tom Gilardi and Ly W. Sherman, people that were taught by B.J. Palmer. So this is where you want to go. And I ended up flying from Paris, France, to New York, to Spartanburg, South Carolina, to realize after I arrived that there was no college, that I had never seen a brochure or received an application, and I only had a phone number in my pocket, which happened to be the phone number of Tom Gilardi, who was to become the first president of Sherman College. So it was quite a shock when I arrived there, especially that Spartanburg, South Carolina, was not what I had imagined in my mind. South Carolina, when you said in French, Caroline du Sud, that sounds so beautiful, so romantic. And I had this idea that, I was going to America, the country that everybody talks about, with the straight line of gold and this amazing country. And I arrived in Spartanburg, South Carolina in 1973 to find out that it was a deep South with segregation to some degree, a lot of racism, a lot of bigotry, and it was a dead town. I mean, coming from Paris, there was nothing there. So, to make a long story short, over time, the school was built. We actually built the framework of the school, the partition for the classrooms, and then the school started. But, there was so much passion there, so much enthusiasm. It was incredible. It was like a big, big family that had a vision, and we immersed ourselves, because there was nothing to do in Spartanburg, South Carolina, we immersed ourselves 24/7, 368 for 4 years into chiropractic. So I feel blessed because I was taught by the best. And when I graduated, I was rock solid in chiropractic. And that is, to me, one of the key to my success.
Yeah, that's really a very important story you shared with everybody. And I think that when people realize that Sherman was started out of the middle of a field with nothing there, and now it's a thriving school that many schools are basing their framework around, that want to be more vitalistic and actually produce real chiropractic adjusters. I think you did come from a school that was very fundamentally built on the adjustment. So that's it's really cool to hear about your backstory. I know you do something else in the chiropractic space too, is you actually teach people how to become better adjusters, and you started a system called Cafe of Life. Would you mind stepping in and telling us a little bit first about the seminars that you put on for chiropractors?
Well, that's interesting because really what I've always wanted to do is to deepen the understanding of the philosophy and the principle of chiropractic, which was so strong at Sherman College. And I realized fairly quickly that people were not that attracted to it at first. So I used to give seminar on chiropractic philosophy, and I had 40 people, 30 people, 60 people. And after a while, I realized a so-called adjusting seminar, which people may say a technique seminar, attracted a lot more people. So I thought, well, I'm going to teach not a technique seminar, but an adjusting seminar. And that will be my platform and my medium to infuse the seminar with chiropractic principle and philosophy, but not from a didactic point of view, from the reality of practice. From how do you apply it in practice? How do you utilize it with the public? And that became a platform. And I started in 1983, and we have been doing it all those years. And it only last year, or the year before, I can't remember, that I stepped back. I did my very last seminar in Paris, France, last fall, the fall of 2018. And so that's what the MLS adjusting seminar became. And obviously, over the years, I refined the teaching of the adjusting. I was blessed to have great skills, very naturally. It came to me very naturally. It was extremely refined while I was at Sherman College, and with the help of Reggie Gold in full spine adjusting. So we were able, over the years, to teach thousands and thousands of chiropractors phenomenal skills and give them a training platform, specific training and exercise to be able to deliver specific adjustment at high velocity, extremely precise, with lightning speed, and yet they were so gentle because of the ways that we address the spine and position the spine, never creating tension, reading the meningeal spinal cord system so there is no tension in the system, so that the force can travel through the whole system even if it's introduced in one location. So that's how that came about. And then the Cafe of Life that you asked me about came about from a different place. Basically, I look at my practice in Yardley, Pennsylvania as a Cafe of Life, where a place where I was serving life, I was releasing life force in the body, and I was dispensing knowledge, understanding, wisdom about life, which is what chiropractic philosophy is about. So I view it as a Cafe of Life. And when I started doing the Masterpiece Training Camp, which we did for 14 years, which was a 6-day intensive training camp for chiropractors, I presented that model to the participant, and the model took off, not exactly the way that I wanted. I thought that everybody would call their practice a Cafe of Life, and people didn't see the greater vision, and they decided to call it Thrive Chiropractic, Inspire Chiropractic, whatever names they had that they felt was theirs. But they were practicing in a Cafe of Life model, which was not only an eclectic, very professional environment, which is a self-expression of that chiropractor, but also a model in which they were addressing the public on even ground, very much a humanitarian approach, a lot of education through public speaking and talks. They had great skills. So that was pretty much the framework. And actually, that framework ended up affecting a very large part of the profession, that people that had a completely different model of practice were still building a framework and an internal framework of their practice, being more eclectic, being more welcoming, with artworks, with beautiful lighting, with beautiful music. So that's how the Cafe of Life came about. It was never a franchise. I've had zero financial interest in it. I wanted each chiropractor to have their own individual expression of this beautiful principle, art, science, and philosophy that we have.
So do you have any favorite mantras or motivational quotes that keep your commitment as a doctor strong?
Yeah, live by example. Be congruent and in integrity. Your message and the messenger and the message have to be congruent and, so to speak, one and the same. That is my mantra, and this is really what I infuse everywhere that I went in public speaking on different platforms at the seminar. I always infuse that by showing up as an example of this beautiful philosophy and by living in complete integrity with the principle and in all areas of life. So that has been one of my mantras, and the other mantra that I've had is to empower people to become their own leader. I never supported or wanted to have so-called followers. I always inspired people to become their own leader, empowering them to become their own leader. So those are my two major mantras in my life.
And as you've seen yourself develop with that type of free-flowing idea that people can become their own leaders, what have you seen over the past 40 years with that type of influence in chiropractic?
Well, what I have seen, and that was also the premise of Masterpiece training camps, the 6-day training camps that we had, it was to create points of light for the United States and to create a new leadership, to seed a new leadership. And what I see is that throughout the country and actually throughout the world, I see people that have come to Masterpiece training camp, people that have come to MLS adjusting seminar, become leader, but a very different kind of leadership. Not a leadership based on seeking power and control, a leadership of people that live by example, that have risen through the rank because of their beingness, because of the quality of their practice. So it has had an impact and an influence on the field of chiropractic. So that's pretty much what I saw happening as a result of the vision and the mantras that I had for myself.
So what's possible in the future with everything you're doing and accomplishing?
What's possible in the future? At times things look very dark to me for a profession, and at times I think there is hope. I'm convinced that it all depends on the evolution of our profession. I believe that presently the chiropractic profession is in its adolescence. If you look at the profession as a whole, as a body, it was born, it was an infant, it became a child, and then it became a teenager, and now we are in the adolescence of our profession. And when you look at the behavior of adolescents, you have exactly what is happening in our profession today, which is to seek recognition, acceptance, approval from the peers, from the establishment, from the medical profession, from the government, from society, whatever you want to call it. We have basically the behavior of adolescents. We have molded ourselves, conform ourselves, compromise ourselves, lose ourselves. We change our own specific linguistic. We have shrunk and deviated from our true essence, for the sake of acceptance and recognition. So when you ask me what does the future look like, I'll say we'll see what happens when we move into young adults as a profession and thereafter into adulthood. And I believe that the first responsibility and the prime responsibility of any adult is to express their full inborn potential. I believe that every human being is born with a very specific potential, calling, vocation, aspiration, and that is the responsibility of an adult, is to access that and express it and manifest it into reality. And I'm very clear that not many adults, or not all adults, I should say, not many, but not all adults get there. So we will see when we evolve into that part of our beingness as a body, as a profession, we will see where it leads us. And my great hope, Jim, is that the vision of the Palmer, the big idea of the Palmer, will come to fruit, will come to reality.
Yeah, that would be really nice. You know, I've been following what's been going on for a while too. And that's one of the next questions I had for you. It's not a scripted thing, but as you've seen over the past decade, what would you say has been the most influential thing in the chiropractic space in the past 10 years?
In the past 10 years, I would go back to the past 40 years, where I would have seen a gradual change in the educational system that had medicalized our profession,
Oof.
that has filled up new graduates with so much information and medical information and very little chiropractic knowledge and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, many of them, the vast majority of them, graduate having little to no knowledge about what chiropractic is truly about. And they don't have a sense of a strong identity. As a result, when they get into practice, they are lost.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to survive in whatever way they can, by doing a lot of compromising, a lot of other things that have nothing to do with chiropractic. And I think that has been one of the greatest influence in affecting our profession and causing new graduates to struggle so much. I mean, I see everywhere they're struggling. It's uncanny to me and my generation to see them struggling so hard. And I see the difference is when I graduated, yes, we had knowledge of physiology, biology, pathology, anatomy, biochemistry, and all this. But we were clear as to what chiropractic is about, and we were so strong in chiropractic understanding and philosophies and principle. And that was a key to our success in my generation. Mm. So on the flip side of that, what I see is that because of social media and the capacity to market the practice, people that would have never made it any other way are able to make it to some degree. And I see both sides of social media, the negative and the positive. Mm-hmm. So the positive is when you have a message today, you can reach out to thousands of people. And if you are in integrity, if you are congruent, then you have a fantastic platform. But also the flip side of it is people that have no understanding of chiropractic, that have very poor skills, being able to market their practice, attract new people into their practice. Those people don't stay. They feel they have been had. And as a result, now we have a significant percentage of people out there bad-mouthing chiropractic because they had a bad experience. And as you know, if one person had a bad experience, they'll talk to 20 or 30 people. Mm-hmm. But when you have a fantastic experience, they'll talk maybe to 5, 6, 7, or 8 people. So we have to look at the positive and the negative of social media, and as a result, you know, what has taken place and why the public is so confused about our profession.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, ChiroThin, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Universal Tractioning Systems, Rhino Coaching, Chiropractic Jobs Online, and Chiro Matchmakers. Let's hustle.
Amen, brother. I had a conversation this morning with this guy that is interested in marketing for chiropractors, and he does marketing for chiropractors, but he has no understanding of where chiropractic started. He knows nothing about the person that got the first chiropractic adjustment. I mean, not that saying that that's like, you must know this stuff to market for chiropractic properly, but I think the other side of this is chiropractic has become very attractive for marketers to market for. So I think, that's another quiver, an arrow in the quiver for chiropractic actually, is that marketing chiropractic has become more attractive to the marketplace from a marketing perspective, which is, I think, very beneficial to the chiropractor. But like you're saying, if you group it all up, some of these people are getting very busy because of this ability, and they're not delivering the goods. And I think that that's a problem when we do have the firepower of social media marketing, and that people are at record numbers. Honestly, Arno, people are at record numbers wanting to do marketing for chiropractors.
Yep. There is a very interesting Netflix documentary that I just saw. I don't know if you heard of it. FYRE, Fire. That's a great example of the power of the media, and yet the guy was kind of a scammer. He was a con artist, and he created supposedly the most extraordinary music festival on a private island in the Bahamas with all the supermodels, with some of the best musicians, and it was a complete flop because there was nothing of substance behind that man. And that's a great example of potentially the negative effect of marketing. On the other hand, as I said, it can have a beautiful positive effect.
Yeah, I've noticed you've gotten more involved with social media as well on Instagram, and I see you do a fair amount on Facebook as well. What do you like about those platforms?
So for me, I'm from a different generation, James. So it wasn't what I grew up with. It wasn't what attracted me when it first came about. I have never posted anything personal about my personal life or a selfie about me in a restaurant or something like this. So what I saw about Facebook when finally I got onto it is the potential to create an awareness for what I was doing within chiropractic, for MLS adjusting seminar, for Cafe of Life, for Ticket, for Masterpiece Training Camp when we were doing the camp. So it became a platform for that. And just recently I realized that the new generation is more on Instagram and Twitter than on Facebook. So I'm kind of somewhat involved there, but pretty much on the fringe, because it's really, if you haven't grown up with that, it's a completely different thing. It's not as easy to navigate, to make it happen. And I'm in a phase of my life, I'm what we call the winter of life. You, Jim, at 40 years old, you're at the beginning of the summer of your life. So it's a different thing. And I'm letting now other people take on the lead within my organization, within my seminars, to deal with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I have a bit of an offshoot question here that's not scripted. Earlier you mentioned that chiropractic, the profession, is still only in its adolescence. What do you think needs to be done, and how long will it take until it can mature into what's possible with the profession?
Oh, that is a tough question. I see the influence that our principle and philosophy has had on countless other professions that call themselves so-called holistic alternative profession. I'm sometimes stunned when I read books on nutrition, or I see people talking about body work, that they use almost word for word what we would have called back then in the 60s and 70s and 80s a lay lecture, that they recognize the inborn intelligence of the body, that they recognize the wisdom of the body, the self-healing capacity, the self-organizing capacity of the body. So I see that our profession has had a huge impact on even what is being now called energy medicine. So I think we have, as a profession, have had an impact. How it will be as a profession in the future, it is very hard to tell, because the people that are steering the boat of our profession, unfortunately, are quite lost. They basically want to embrace medicine and become a medical specialty. They have lost our individuality, they have lost our linguistic. So will those people keep steering the profession there, or will someone or somebody or some organization emerge and bring chiropractic in the direction that many other professions that are parallel to chiropractic are moving into? Time will tell. Sometimes it's not that easy to dislodge people that are in power. A lot of those people that are in power have never practiced. So they graduated. Some of them are chiropractors, they graduated, but they've never practiced. And they find a solace or a refuge in being on a state board or being the head of organization, and they're controlling the rest of the profession, which I understand now, talking to dentists, talking to acupuncturists, talking to osteopath, to homeopath, that this is not unique to our profession. This happens in many other professions, where the people in charge, the people in control, the people that run the boards are really power hungry and control hungry, and they are not doing necessarily the best for that profession. So that's where we are. So we'll see what happens in the future.
So jumping back forward to social media and marketing, what are some of your favorite marketing strategies that you just couldn't do without?
My favorite marketing strategy is word of mouth and reputation. And that doesn't happen through social media unless people have come to your practice, have received the good, have been inspired, and their life has been transformed because of the message, because of the understanding that you give them. Then, yes, they can go on social media and tweet about you and your practice. So my favorite marketing strategy is deliver the good, live in integrity, build a reputation, build a practice by word of mouth, and let social media be the vehicle for those people to share their gratefulness, their respect for chiropractic, their love of chiropractic on social media. That would be my strategy.
You know, just listening to you with that so much confidence that everybody can go out there brick by brick and build their reputation. You know, it wasn't long ago, which I like to say, Arno, is our kind of, involvement with chiropractic, which, overnight success usually takes 25 years. But what I call it is sidelines, from the sidelines to the headlines. And if people do build a reputation fast enough, they can do that same thing in their practice. And from the time where we actually came onto the scene and started creating content for the chiropractic profession, it's been about 4 years. So that just goes to show that if you can captivate a professional resonance with an entire profession that's kind of disbanded, then a chiropractor should be able to go out there with a professional stance in their community and be able to serve that community at a high level and create that type of celebrity status within their 7-mile radius.
I said within their 7-mile radius at first, but let me tell you, it doesn't have to stop there. The influence that any chiropractor can have that has a booming practice can virtually go nationwide. We had referrals when I was in practice in Yardley, Pennsylvania. I've had referrals that came from California, from Florida, because people have heard of your practice through the networking. And now with social media, back then there was no social media. It was just friends talking to friends, family member talking to family members and all this. But today with social media, a practice doesn't have to be limited to a 7-mile radius. We used to have people that drove 2-3 hours to come to our practice on a regular basis. From upstate New York, from upstate Pennsylvania, from the New Jersey shore, and on their way they were passing 50, 60, 100 chiropractors. So I wouldn't tell people limit yourself to a 7-mile radius. Let the radiance of your practice, the point of light that you have created in your practice, emanate like a beacon, and let things come your way. I believe that the universe will deliver to each person exactly what you deserve, but you don't want to force it. You want to allow it to happen, which is very different. And I think when we have a clear vision and a clear mission, and you are very clear on your own purpose, then it's a matter of time. And I've seen it over and over and over. You mentioned the 4-year mark for you. And in practice, I tell people, stay the course for 5 years. Plant mighty seeds. Don't throw things in the wind. Plant mighty seeds and let them germinate. And sure enough, at the 5-year mark, boom, the practice explode, and then it's effortless. But when you push the river, I tell you, you'll have to push it for the rest of your life. It's only my perspective,
No, it's deep wisdom, and I think that everybody listens to this, whether it's right now or whether it's in a decade from now, they can listen to that last segment that you delivered, and they'll pull value from that. And maybe in 50 years, people will pull value from that, because wisdom crosses boundaries, and success is something that crosses boundaries too. But there is a certain method to getting to the point where you do get a tipping point effect with your influence. And I think that's something that everybody could pay attention to, that what you said is, my marketing is word of mouth. Well, honestly, Arno, your marketing was creating seminars, teaching people how to do what they couldn't get taught at school. And that was a huge part of what I found out about you, was you were creating a magnetism to yourself, teaching people how to do what they weren't getting in the education realm. And I think when you teach people to adjust, you become so valuable to that tribe, and you become so valuable to the profession. And that's why people will refer to you across borders, because I think that when you do have that certainty within what you deliver to your community is global. So it would make sense for people to travel long distance to come and see you.
Absolutely, and you're totally correct. And I want to just remind you, James, that yes, we taught people how to adjust, and that was a platform to infuse them with also some things they didn't get in school, which is the amazing knowledge and wisdom that was imparted to me while I was at Sherman College by my teachers, that had a direct connection with B.J. Palmer. So that was also a very big key in creating this referral system to our seminars, because people were so inspired, so turned on by realizing, what I thought was chiropractic that they taught me in school really has nothing to do with that. And we were able to elicit in them the flame of knowledge that live within them. And that has been a great key to the success of what I did when I was, in practice, and also doing seminars all those years.
So what kind of things do you like to watch, read, or listen to? What kind of hobbies do you have?
My hobby has been chiropractic all my life. For sure, it's my passion, it's my vocation. I can't think of doing anything else. And through that, I read extensively, but I read strictly about life, about health, about healing, about well-being, about wellness, about spirituality, about spontaneous healing, spontaneous remission. I make clear with myself the moment that I stumbled into chiropractic that I would not study sickness and disease, because that is not my specialty. My specialty in chiropractic is to turn on life, to facilitate the functioning of the nervous system and to clear the neurospinal system to the best of my ability. So that's where I put all of my focus. As a result, my whole being is impregnated with this understanding and knowledge that come from many different fields. I read about, biophysics, biology, about energy, and everything that has to do about the dynamics of life, about ecology. I'm interested in all of this because to me, since chiropractic is a philosophy of life and health and things natural, so philosophy of life means the love of the wisdom of life. So that's what I study. That's what I'm invested in. And that has been my direction from the get-go in 1973 when I stumbled into chiropractic.
So I guess this is a good part for me to ask you, what's next?
What's next? Right now I'm in a buffer zone, which means I have given my last adjusting seminar and passed on those seminars to senior staff throughout the world in Europe and through different regions in the United States and Canada. So that's done and it's doing very well. The transition is happening really well. The leaders are functioning well. And for me right now, I'm like in a transition. It's almost like, when you graduate from high school, do you know what you're going to do next? Not necessarily. Or you graduate from college and you throw yourself into life. There is kind of lag time, a buffer zone. So I'm in a no man's land right now. And I'm waiting for what comes next, what will come to me next. This is what you're called to do. So that's where I am. And in the meantime, I'm also recharging myself, taking care of my health and my being. And we'll see what happens in the next, whenever the call comes in. I'll answer that call.
So we're just about at the end of this episode. Did you have any social media links or website links or resources where people can find you better?
I have sent that to your assistant, but basically they can go on Facebook and go under Arno Burnier, Arno Burnir, and it should come up. I have many different Facebook pages because I have more than 5,000 friends, so I've moved to another Facebook page, which is a public figure page. I have MLS seminars, MLS adjusting seminar, cafeoflife.com, MLSseminar.com. People can reach me via my email, Arno, ARNO, at phone, but it's spelled FONE.net. So those are the different avenues that people can connect with me. And unless something has happened that is dramatic, I respond within 48 hours at the max.
Well, that pretty much wraps up this episode. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we just didn't ask you about?
I want to thank you, Jim. That's what I want to do. I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, for inviting me on this communication podcast. I don't know what you call it. I'm very grateful that you give me a platform to maybe reach more people. So that's pretty much the last thing that I want to do is express my gratitude for what you have been doing and what you're doing.
Thank you so much as well. Maybe the next thing in your life is we get the chance to see each other. And I know you're out here on Western Colorado as well, so maybe that's the next thing.
Yeah, that would be great. Grand Junction and Durango, if you fly, it's quick. But if you drive, it's quite a hike over the mountain, back and forth, over all those passes. So, but regardless, when, if life has meant to connect us again live, we'll be there. Otherwise, maybe via Skype or other medium.
Yeah, man. And I just want to say thank you again for being our guest today and just shining the spotlight out there for the chiropractic message is something that we love and honor. And we want to thank you again, too, for being our guest today.
Thank you so much. All my love to you, Jim. Take care. Huh?
Okay. Thank you, Arno.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.